ecology has some components to it. When we say what is ecologically supported, it means all of the relationships you have to different things and how they exist for you, both in terms of the past and the future, and also internally and externally. So your external past are things that have happened to you. You know, so you in the past read a book, and that happened. That's in your external past. Something internal in the past is your relationship to your family of origin. What kind of childhood you think you had, and how you think that affected you. And then, so external future will be so for the plant has a very problematic external future ecology with the desert, which is there's no water there. The plant needs that. So for the plant to move to the desert, the plant would have to start to establish an external future that contains some of the nutrients and water that the plant needs. And that would have to be in place prior to the plant's ecology letting it move. Does that make sense? So it would be an external future ecological support. An internal future is how you imagine it to be. And we so often imagine that we want things, that if we were going to have those things, would change us fundamentally as a person, right? It would change our identity. That was one of the most powerful things for me as an author, as I realized I had to change my identity from not an author to an author. And that identity change was way harder than writing a book. Way, way, way more difficult. In order to maintain sanity, you have kind of a prime objective, a number one objective as a human, which is more important to us than really almost anything else but literally breathing and eating. And that is that we maintain a contiguous identity, that who I was yesterday is kind of the same person as who I am now, and then when I wake up tomorrow, I'm kind of the same person. We want to change, we want to improve, we want to nip and tuck, but we want to fundamentally feel like we're the same us. And in fact, the people that do wake up tomorrow and feel that they're fundamentally a different person get put away in the insane asylum. They go crazy. They lose it. They have what's the clinical term? Psychotic break. So the mind is continually preventing you from having a psychotic break by wanting to maintain the same sense of your identity from your past internal to your future internal to where you are now, which means you have to be able to draw kind of a straight line. So, lots and lots of passive income may not look like a straight line from your past, and, from the family of origin story. And so if you can't draw a really elegant line between origin story to lots and lots of passive income, then your requirement for a contiguous identity will absolutely in all cases prevent the passive income. I wanted to make a distinction between ecology and comfort zone. Right? Everyone knows what a comfort zone is? Where's all the action? Outside the comfort zone. Exactly. So there's this idea that I'm comfortable here, and then I'm going to get uncomfortable by going outside my comfort zone, and that's where I'm going to get all the good stuff. We've been taught that as good transformational beings, and there's some truth to it. That certainly functions. The difference here is that ecology is all of the set of experiences that you're accustomed to having, which for many of you is very uncomfortable, right? Like the feeling of not writing this book is not the most comfortable feeling, right? It's quite uncomfortable, but it's also familiar, right? So there's a familiar and safe uncomfortable, and then there's an unfamiliar, unsafe uncomfortable. And ecology is ensuring that you're going to have all of the familiar feelings, all of the familiar experiences again and again and again and again. And here's why. This is what happened. One day you were a happy baby, and then there was a problem. There was a break in love, and whether it was that you were beaten and kept in a glove box in your car, or whether it was that you were looking up at your mom, and right when the phone rang, and she turned her eyes away, and the entire universe of love disappeared for that moment. It doesn't really matter. What matters is something happened that wasn't right.
And at that age, you code those two threats as the same.
Yeah.
They're equally unsafe.
Yeah, because you have no capacity, you have no neural capacity for scenario planning when you're a baby. You don't understand. There's no way to know. Oh, this is probably going to just be a moment, and then it's all going to be okay. You have no object permanence. So when you have no object permanence and there's no love present, there's never going to be love ever again. Right? So that's why, I don't know if you've been ever around babies, but babies are always either really stoked or pissed as hell. Everything's either like, this is like the best day ever, or this is the worst tragedy that ever happened, and there's no in between. So best day ever, then something happens, and then now you have an unhappy baby. This is the worst tragedy that ever happened. And this is starting before you learn language. The baby makes some decisions in that moment, because it's very uncomfortable when bad shit's happening for you not to know why. Have you noticed that? Like, you're in a relationship, and then the person you're in a relationship with suddenly stops returning your texts, and then you get 3 days later a text that say, we're over. What do you want to know? Why? And if you don't know why, it drives you crazy. You have to find out, you call his friend, you go do all the whole business, because you have to know why. So the unhappy baby has to know why he's unhappy, and he asks himself the why. But of course, he has no, or she, little baby, has no capacity for really understanding anything about the situation. So with that limited understanding, makes some decisions. And then what happens over time, I don't know if you've, again, if you've been around babies, if the baby's crying and then they're soothing, and then what happens a little bit later? Happy baby, again. So what does the happy baby do? Says, remember those decisions that I made when I was pissed off? About myself, about other people, or about the world? Remember those decisions? They worked. They restored happiness. So those decisions become cemented as facts about the world. And then this whole process, starting out happy, having the problem, then being unhappy, then making the decision, and then being happy again, that entire sequence gets coded in the brainstem as a survivable experience. Every other experience, which is different than this one, I don't know if that's survivable or not, but this one I know is survivable. So then you start to have a list of survivable experiences, and anything that's off the list of survivable experiences, we don't know whether we're going to survive or not. So if you were driving down the road and there was a fork in the road, and Google Maps says you have a choice, there's a left and a right, you can take which one you want. The left is you're guaranteed to survive if you go left. The right, we don't know. Which way are you going to go? Of course, and that's what the baby does too. So you then go continuously in a loop trying to reproduce your survivable experiences, which means that if you come within 20 feet of something that looks like it could be this problem, you head straight for it and make sure to reproduce it so that you can have the same breakthrough, so you can reaffirm the same decision, so that you can survive it again, so that you can stay safe. So this is the function, this is the mechanism that ecology is using to make sure that you're not writing your book, and that you don't have passive income, that you're not doing your comedy web series, everything, that you're still procrastinating. It's because the decisions that you made around those things were coded as safe, and just like we're not going to let the plant go to the desert and die, your ecology is not going to let you go outside of that until those things are revised.